Thank you very much. This is the part two of the keynote on this. So, in the first part, I mentioned Gait and editing. So, third, I mentioned about the silhouette reconstruction, silhouette sequence reconstruction for gait recognition against occlusion. Here, we can mention about another work, sensor-based gait to estimate age and gender. This is an important application for several cases. So I'm not going into detail. So this is the data set from our lab that we used several sensors and in Tokyo, we did this kind of system where people moved and had different kinds of walking patterns. And if you look at the data set, it's a really large one because more than 700, about 750 people, male female ratio is almost the same. And this is the distribution of age for the training set. This is the data set where the sensors are in different locations. We arranged a challenge called Gait Challenge Age and Gender in the 12th IAPR ICV in Greece last year. So we found various different methods. What is the learning from those methods? That sensor orientation is very important, because if your sensor is located in one part, then it is giving some information, but if it is in different location, then different kind of information. So we have to deal this. We found that deep learning based methods in this competition performed better, but in some other competitions, like last year at Haska workshop in SCM UBCom UK, we found that deep learning is not the leader, but of course good, but not the leader. So there is a possibility that deep learning or handcrafted features, or both, are important. So we have to explore. We need more different patterns, more subjects, and try to do. In another work, we are trying on wellness monitoring while running. This is a very important work with collaboration with the hospital. That our target is to know whether the running on the treadmill is good, risky, or balanced, and so on. It is very difficult from side view or front or back, because where you put the sensors or Kinect sensors or on body sensors, or very good camera and multiple camera systems, and how to work with this whole system and then recognize. We tried with different open pose based methods and then do analysis, but the result is not positive. And there are lots of work to do, and this is very important because many people use this kind of treadmills, and from there we can get some. Another work we tried with gait disorder detection, like elderly people in hospital, for example, or elderly people at home. If we can recognize any kind of gait disorders, early detection can be helpful. So we tried to recognize abnormal gait from the normal gait with some methods, with two data sets, and this is published last year. So we need to try on normal and abnormal. This is another very important research area, but extremely difficult. We are working with the hospital rehabilitation center and NEC, that hemiplegic patients posture analysis can we do without putting any sensors on body. Now, this is like, if you have this kind of system, that we have a stroke or whatever, and then partially paralyzed, we have gait problems or walking pattern problems, and we go for rehabilitation, and step by step we try to be better. If we can make a system that from home you do the rehabilitation exercises and processes, and it can give you some kind of predictions or scores, quality of the improvement or movement, then based on this a doctor can help. You don't need to go to the therapist or doctors every day. So but it is extremely difficult. The main difficulties is that different people have different kinds of motion information, and when you have a paralyzed hand, you move the change is very subtle, very little from there. We are trying for elderly person monitoring system, from where we try to put that elderly persons from morning 24 hours what they do from those issues, we try to make something for a smart home system. We have some pilot projects going on at some elderly people, and this is also need collaborations with doctors and clinics. But the problem was initially the camera, because people are worried about RGB camera and privacy issues. But we assured that, I mean, those images are not retained, but from the image, the informations are extracted and so on. Depth sensors were used. But the problem of depth sensor is that if you go few meters far from the sensor, you cannot extract sufficient information even at home. And if it is dark, then another kind of information and so on. So, and environmental sensors. Contactless human activity recognition is another domain. It means that elderly people or patients don't prefer wearables. They don't like to put any sensors on their body. So video is contactless, but privacy issue and computational costs are important. What are other options apart from video? Radar, Wi-Fi, anything else? So basically, you can look at this, that this book is coming in spring year. So if you are interested or working on that, call for book chapter is still open, but you must submit the chapter by this month. So please have a look and communicate with me for anything. I am one of the recognition using Earable device. So Earable device is you put something inside your ear only. Finish. So this is a small device you put inside ear. This is not contactless, but it can give you some kind of special information like eating habits, swallowing, socializing through speaking communication. This kind of information, especially for elderly people or hospital, we can get. So we did some kind of activities, and we are exploring this device from Nokia Bell Lab. And so action or activity, video versus sensors, because video based human action or activity recognition is very widely known for a longer period. Sensor based has another domain. Video becomes very difficult because of RGB, depth, skeleton, and we can explore sensor data as well, but domains are different. You cannot put everything everywhere. So you have to see where you can work with what. Healthcare facilities, rehabilitation centers, and improvement assessment and security and so on. Action recognition is just like pattern classification. But what about prediction for the future? What will happen from the existing recognition or understanding? This is very important. And another one is the evaluation, means scoring, giving a quality of an action, just like I mentioned earlier, which is with NEC, that whether the action of a patient is good or bad or very bad or something like that. So this kind of scoring is important so that we can trains video-based action recognition and improvement level assessment of rehabilitated patients in hospitals. Sensor-based activity analysis is going on. Different companies are working on that. Fusion between these two are not done much. We need to explore. In the case of video-based, YouTube-based, very large data sets are explored using deep learning and GPUs. But for sensors, usually you can ignore deep learning. I mean, till now, there is a demand for, handcrafted features. Multimodality is important, not much done. Gait recognition with carried object, brace effect, occlusion, healthcare, like rehabilitation, sick persons evaluation, etc., can be explored on large datasets. And actually, we started a community called Activity and Behavior Computing. You can visit this website, and we organized a conference last year in USA and this year in Japan. In activity and gait recognition analysis is very important but very challenging. Video based, lots of methods. You can find all the papers, recent papers in CBP or ICCB. These are free, not TCPAMI. Sensor based classical methods are still good, but you have to explore a lot. UBComp or PARCOM, these kind of conferences are dealing with this kind of great methods, and other conferences as well. Application specific methods and data sets are needed, and hence real life applications are important, like healthcare, elderly support, and security to work more. So you can look into this slide, and I have two books, and the third book we already submitted. So so finished. You can have a look, and this is coming, and we hope that another special issue in pattern recognition letters you can submit only in June. So have a look. in my website. You can find the link. I'd like to thank the organizers for having me. This is the part two of the presentations, and I'd like to thank you all for your kind patience, and I thank my collaborators.